Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to make a little bit of a grungy Valentine here. And it's a pretty easy thing to do, so let's go ahead and get started. So what I'm going to do is I am going to grab a piece of watercolor cardstock. Now this is the B brand that I get at Walmart, and I just cut it up. And I'm going to use my fancy schmancy splat box here to color this with, and I'm going to be using Distress spray stains. So I'm going to start out with the antique linen, and I did spray a little water on there first. I'm going to just kind of give that a little bit of a dry. So we're going for softer colors here, nothing too harsh, and these do lighten up quite a bit once they dry. So I'm just going to run the dryer along it, and then once I'm sure that the ink has basically kind of soaked in, I'm going to go ahead and dab off the excess. And then I'm going to add a little bit more water. And I'm going to come in with this vintage photo, and I'm going to come in from way up high because I don't want a bunch on there, just want a little. I'm going to give it a little more water to get it moving around and get that really dry. I love these spray stains. It's a little bit different than ink smooshing in that, basically it's easier, less messy kind of, and you get a bit of a different result with it. So I got that dry as I needed to, and I'm going to just go ahead and dab off the excess liquid here. And then I'm going to come in with my kitsch, a little bit more water first. I'm going to come in with the Kitsch Flamingo, and I'm going to douse it pretty good because that's the main color theme that I'm looking for. But not all over, just in spots. And I'll go ahead and give that a good dry too. So you even got a soft look at a little hair there from my paper towel, I think. And I can remove my fancy schmancy splat box here and go ahead and just lay this on here. And just in hindsight, I forgot that I had that mat under there, and I did warp it a little. Wouldn't you know it? Because I'm used to just having this little silicone mat on my glass mat. And I forgot that these things warp. So don't do what I did. And I'm stabbing it off and just kind of drying off the back, and I'm not going to be doing any embossing on this or anything, so it'll be fine. And then what I want to do is just kind of straighten out the paper, and I'm going to be trimming this down. And I find that the decal trimmer just kind of gives that romantic edge, so I'm going to trim it down to 5 1/4 by 4 and do the decal on each side. And I'm just kind of picking and choosing what I want to highlight in my colors here. Now that's done, what I want to do is I want to go in, and I'm going to be using my vintage photo ink, and I've got this Papillon set and just this set of words, and I am just honestly just randomly taking the stamp, dipping it into my ink, and slapping it down. Nothing big, nothing technical, just slapping it down. Just kind of getting that extra, basically what I'm after here is the color. So I want to get a little bit more up in that corner there. And there, that's good. I'm good with that. Now I'm going to take the Kitsch Flamingo in the ink, and I'm just going to take my little brush, and I'm just going to brush in a little bit more pink ink. Nothing, just random spots just to get a little bit more pink going on in there. And then I'm going to edge this, and I like to use the flat edge ink blender for blending the edges. I just feel like it works better, and I don't want to ruin my domed ones. But honestly, this flat one just edges much better. Okay, so that was pretty easy and pretty quick. We've got that card background ready to go. And I'm just straightening out a little bit. And then I have this love die from Paper Roses. And I'm going to make sure I've got this straight. Even though you can't really read the words, you would notice if they were upside down. So I'm going to be using that. And then I'm going to use this little heart die. And that heart is from Stampendous. And I cut off the name of this set, so I have no idea. But only thing I don't like about it is it only has one of each wing. So, you know, when they're embossed, and they are, by the way, this is Bristol Smooth cardstock that I'm going to cut this heart out from. They're embossed as well, so you don't get the embossing if you just flip the die over or flip the paper over. So I'm just coloring this in with the distressed ink in the Kitsch Flamingo, and I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. I'm going to go ahead and trim around so I don't have a big old piece of paper, and I can put it at any angle I want. And I'm just going to run that through my Vagabond. You know, that thing takes longer than I thought it did. There we go. Oh, I know why, because I had a bunch of junk in the way. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to actually grab my Versamark ink and my Kitsch Flamingo Distress Glaze. And I'm going to give this heart a glaze. And I'm going to be doing a couple of layers. So I'm just going to lay this in my sticky ink. And don't let Nancy see this ink pad. And I'm going to cover this with the Kitsch Flamingo. Just like that. Get that out of my way. And you see, now you can see how I warped my... You see I'm putting my ink, my embossing powder right beside me, because I'm going to dip this once it's wet and sticky. I'm going to dip it and give it a couple of coats. So I'm going to first heat emboss this heart. And then when it's nice and wet and sticky, I'm just going to drag it right back through the powder. And I'm going to shake my powder around so it's flat. And, yeah, I'm going to drop the heart in there because, yeah. And run that once more. And you just get this really cool kind of glass effect. You see later in the video, if you do it thick like this, it will kind of warp. And if you try to bend it back, it'll crack. So just keep that in mind. It didn't bother me, but... We just set that aside because it's all warm and melty, but it kind of looks like a balloon. And I'm not going to use the outside portion there. I'm just going to use the inside. And I'm going to find a piece of scrap here that this will fit on. You see, I started to do it colored, but I just didn't like it, and so I just cut it out just in interest of time. I'm going to do it. I changed my mind, is all. It didn't stand out enough, so I've got this copper embossing powder. I'm going to cut out the love, and these are really good dies right here. I've been happy with them, and I'm going to fix my heat embossing tool so I can hang it up, because I hang it while it's heating up because otherwise it vibrates. Anyway, I'm going to take my tweezers and pick off that pink stuff that was left over on there. And I'm going to take my die. And I was going to just press the die to the, press the ink to the die, die cut, but I changed my mind. So, hey, I changed my mind a lot. It is what it is. Okay, I'm just going to grab one little corner here. I'm going to go in with this copper colored embossing powder. And just tap it off. And I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss that. Gives a pretty cool metallic effect. I like the copper color one a lot, because it's almost like kind of rosy gold. You see I've got that one end where my tweezers were. I need to cover that. So I'm going to try to just dip it, but it doesn't work out. So I'll just put a little bit of Versamark right there on that one spot. Just dip it in the leftovers and heat emboss it. Boom, we're done. Now we've got our metallic love. We've got our glass heart. And then I just have to decide how I want to arrange them on the card. And I can't remember. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I had to refill my glue. But I need a card base, so I'm just kind of deciding on colors for the card base, because before I put those on, I'm wanting to put it down on a card base. The pink one was okay, but it just wasn't the right shade of pink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually grab a white card base, and you guys have seen me done this a million times. I'm just going to color my card base, and let me just wipe off here, see where I warped my mat. I'm a dummy. It pushed back down though, so that's good news. So definitely no, that's kind of an off-white, and I don't really want an off-white either. Let's go with white and color it. So I'm going to grab a white side fold because I don't think I have any top folds. And I'm going to put just a piece of scrap paper in between there so I don't get ink on everything. And then I'm just going to take my Kish Flamingo Distress ink and just go all around all the edges there. Just adding some color. Doesn't have to be perfect. Only a tiny bit shows. But, I mean, honestly, you could buy colored card bases, or you could have coordinating card bases. And so I mostly do this. If I get colored ones, it's because I got them in a kit or something. Or, you know, I decided I would make them. But most of the time, no. I just use white ones and then I color it like that. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down with my Riptile adhesive. And I'm deciding if I want a piece of this sorry ribbon on here. I kind of do, but I kind of don't. And I just got a bunch of sorry ribbon, and I dyed that one that you saw. I dyed actually 3 or 4 lengths of different colors with the just water and the distress ink stains. Okay. Let me get that out of the way because I'm having a heck of a time picking things up off of it. There we go. See, there's one that's dyed with Kish Flamingo and picked raspberry, or Seedless Preserves, one of the two. Really easy to do. I'll have to show you how I do it sometime. So I'm just going to put glue all around the edges, and this is my stick method of choice. I don't have an ATC, ATV, ATG gun. And I've had littler ones, but they run out so fast and I've struggled with them, so I just use glue or tape. But mostly glue. And I need to refill my my little silicone glue container here, so bear with me here while I get it apart and hunt down my glue or my silicone. Okay, got it filled up. Well, it's not filled up. I don't fill it all the way. Now I'm going to decide how I want to put these. And always the trickiest part. And they're both going to be popped up a little. See, I try to fix this heart and it cracks. You probably can't see the crack, but it did crack. So one thing I can say, if you do multiple coats of that, it will crack if you bend your paper. So that means if the mailman smashes it, it'll crack. So I'm just barely laying that down, and then this one I'm putting globs of this silicone. And this is messy, I'm not going to lie, but it's worth it. Get any excess, just kind of wipe it down. There we go. Because what this does is it allows you to raise up your die cut. Let me just wipe my fingers off here. Now what I'm going to do is just drop it down gently and just give it ever so slight of a press, because I do want it to stand up. And that does take a bit to dry, so if you're in a hurry, use foam tape. But look, I wasn't happy with the placement. Let me just scoot it over a little. Boom. Easy to do. Okay, so yeah, that was magical how that popped up there, huh? I was having a hard time hunt down the right right sequence that I wanted, or confetti. And this is the from Honeybee. It's called bubblegum. And I'm just gonna, you know, dot my glue where I want the. I'm going to dot my glue. Sure I am. First I'm gonna unclog it. Okay, and just some tiny dots where I want the sequins. And I have trouble making up my mind where to put them. There we go. Just commit already. So there's 5. And see, you can still kind of see that writing that from that stamp. So I'm gonna use a small one and or a medium one and a large one, and then a really tiny one. And use a medium one there, and you find, I think that one's a large one. And I need a couple more. I'm just not quite happy yet. So I'll just stick the glue where I want it. Just barely touching the glue down. And then just dot a couple more of these little confetti in. And there we have it. We have our little kind of romantic, metallic, kind of grungy, but not sloppy card. Hope you like this video. If you do, please give me a thumbs up. And please consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for visiting. Y'all have a good one.